On this SEGA Talk, we discuss the first half of the fourth Sonic the Hedgehog game that arrived nearly 15 years after the third game. How did Sonic 4 come to be? Why is it so controversial with some fans? What is the ideal way to play it, and can you physically own it? Find out on this very fantastic episode of SEGA Talk. SEGA Bits presents SEGA Talk, a podcast talking all things SEGA! With your hosts, George and Barry.
Look, it's a giant talking egg. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the master here. Say what?
Hello and welcome to episode number 171 of SEGA Talk. I'm Barry. With me is the Tails to my Sonic, though there is no Tails in this game, George.
Yeah, I'll just say, won't say anything, just silent.
Yeah, thank you. Sonic, I have no friends, and Sonic has no friends, at least in this game. And before we get to this game, this was actually our first Patreon Picker Wheel pick. So if you support us on Patreon, we have some different tiers. We have I don't know, I think we call it like the premium picker tier, the preferred picker tier, or whatever. But those are the top tier supporters, and they get to tell us what to cover once a month, and their pick goes to the front of the line. Now, if you don't want to support us at that higher tier, there's a tier right below that just sort of like throws your picks into a wheel, and we spin that wheel, and there's sometimes a little random oddity, goofiness things within there that it might land on. And this was a picker wheel pick. So we spun that wheel, and Sonic 4 came out on top. What is Sonic 4? Well, Sonic 4 Episode 1.
I was going to say, it's a terrible promo to be like, Sonic 4 is the reason you're listening to this Sonic 4 episode is because of I'm sorry. Go on. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. Well, I mean, we had to cover it at some point because if you watch these episodes chronologically, like we have a playlist where they're uploaded in the order that the game's released. You'll note that we did cover, I think we did Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles. I have to actually look back, but I'm pretty sure we did both of those. So, I mean, this is the next game, I guess. But Episode 1 of Sonic 4, it's the opening installment of a two-part episodic Sonic the Hedgehog series. 4 series. Yeah, it's a two-part series of a one-part game. It released in October of 2010 as a digital download for the Wii, PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and iOS. Over the next 2 years, additional versions were made available for Windows Phone 7, Steam, Android, and I think that just about covers it. But on this episode, we're actually going to start with the development rather than saving it for the end, because you really kind of have to understand where this game came from in order to understand this game. So, development of Sonic 4 Episode 1 actually began in May of 2009, and it lasted for 18 months. They originally planned this as a smartphone-exclusive spin-off, with the working title being Sonic DL. It evolved into a multi-platform mainline installment. Only producer Takashi Iizuka and composer Jun Senoue had previously worked on the Genesis series, so there's a little DNA from the Genesis era here. The game was developed by longtime Sonic team collaborator Dimps, who was largely responsible for the Game Boy Advance, DS, and 3DS Sonic games. And if you're listening to this episode in episode release order, we actually just talked about Sonic Advance 2, I believe. So
yeah,
that game came out, George, what was that, like 2002,
3,
5 or 2?
Really?
2 or 3?
No,
yeah, so
wait. You're right. It should be higher because the Advance came out after the Dreamcast was diminished.
Yeah. So this actually released pretty close to the final Sonic Advance games, and just around the time that the Sonic Rush games had, I believed, already released. So now we kind of jump into the public arena, because on September 8th, 2009, which if you'll notice that date, that is the day before the, what is that, the 10th anniversary of the Dreamcast's release in the US,
Oh, yeah.
SEGA announced Project Needle Mouse, and this was a new HD 2D Sonic title planned for 2010. The code name was a reference to a early actual mistranslation of Sonic's early name, so it was actually Mr. Hedgehog. The Needle Mouse thing is... It's a story that a lot of people love to tell, but it's inaccurate. I think it's just a mistranslation of Hedgehog, which is kind of lame. I guess it's a bad omen for this game that the code name is based off of a mistranslation that's not actually a part of Sonic's history.
I do remember this though when they were doing the Project Needle Mouse logo, and they even had a logo, right? So like, I guess it was a big deal, but did anyone at Sega actually... I mean, I would assume Aaron Weber and other people had to know that it wasn't, like, 100% accurate.
I don't know. I think Aaron Weber was and is a big-time Sonic fan, but I think even he would get things like that a little incorrect. Like, he grew up on the series as a fan, and so I'm certain he would hear those stories about Needle Mouse, and he's like, oh, that would be a fun code name, like... only the nerdiest nerds over at Sonic Retro would actually catch this sort of thing. And they did. So in an interview with GameSpot, Sega's associate brand manager, Ken Ballow, who we actually interviewed years ago on the Swing and Report show, he described the project as a direct response to longtime fans wanting a return to classic 2D gameplay. And we had a teaser video which accompanied the reveal. I think it was actually released the day after on 9/9. And this showed Sonic racing through rings with a retro sound effects and the tagline, Sonic returns in an all-new 2-day adventure built from the ground up. The video ended with a silhouetted emblem resembling the original Sonic title screen, concealing the game's final name and protagonist. And if you remember, too, the outline, some people said it looked like Pikachu in a sombrero.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
So let's watch the Project Needle Mouse announcements trailer, and if you're watching this on video, keep that Pikachu in sombrero in mind, and we'll see what happens. Let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready. Pressing play.
Cool. Speed returns in an all-new 2D adventure built
finally
from the ground up.
Oh, yeah, it does.
Look at that.
Okay.
Beautiful. It's not a bad teaser.
No.
So you remember when this was first teased, right?
Right, I do remember. I remember watching the trailer, and I was conflicted. I mean, at this time, I actually was talking to people that were promoting the game and behind it, so I was more excited for like them because they worked pretty hard on it and trying to get all this stuff put together. That was so my initial reaction is I think they did a good job on the initial trailer. Obviously, they didn't create the game, so it's not like anything that people think about the game. But I wonder if they kind of joked about it in Sega about the meme about the Pikachu, because I feel like the new Sega at least would kind of like try to push it more, like actually post the Pikachu's sombrero meme. Yeah. But what's your initial reactions?
Yeah, so I'll give viewers and listeners just kind of some insight into where both you and I were at this time. So, end of 2009, early 2010, the website that you and I had met on, Sega Nerds, was dead. Mm-hmm. Sega Bits was in its infancy. It was being planned kind of behind the scenes. And I myself, I was running a blog on blogger.com called The Nomad Junkyard, which was really focused on Game Gear, portable Sega games, and these new iOS and mobile phone games that were coming out at the time, and I had owned, and I still do own maybe I have it right here. Yeah, it's right here. An iPod Touch. So here's my iPod Touch. It's not powered on. It doesn't hold a charge very long. But
look how small it is compared to like the new phones. Like it's ridiculous. And
yeah,
I used to
I'll
think
get
that
my...
was amazing when it came out. I was like,
look at this.
The tech. It's so thin, and it's crazy. Yes, it's like looks like an ancient relic.
It's like, if you're not watching on video, it's like if you folded an iPhone in half. It's it's like half the size almost. But yeah, so I was playing Sonic 4 on this, and it's not on this anymore, and I don't know why. I don't know if maybe even updates on this made it obsolete or unable to play. It's or maybe I deleted it because it was taking up too much space, and now I can't download it again. I'm not exactly sure, but yeah. So I was following the rollout for it. You were following the rollout for it, and around this time, both you and I were kind of making that transition into Sega Bits as a community and as writers, and so I will warn people, I guess, that in this episode there is a little bias just in terms of like, and it's not even like they gave us anything except for answering emails, which meant a lot. And it was just really cool and exciting to be covering a new Sonic game that had, at the time, we didn't know what it would be. Would it be like a pixel graphics game? Like, what is this? But it was exciting to see the teases and the rollout and to be able to talk to these people. So as far as that, like, I have nothing but fond memories. And I think as we go through this episode, you'll find that I'm not the biggest Sonic 4 hater, and I have a few reasons for that. But let's talk about that rollout. So on January 11th, 2010, Sega launched the Project Needle Mouse character countdown on its official blogs. The event gradually revealed that Sonic would be the game's sole playable character. There was a graphic that displayed potential candidates including Amy, Shadow, Vector, Big, Charmy to Call, Shade, Chip, Froggy, and even a mysterious Mr. Needlemouse. Every day of the week, as fans correctly answered Sonic trivia, names were crossed off until only Sonic remained. Fans could also earn daily points, and by collecting the last 3, they unlocked a special reward, which was concept art of Shellcracker from Sonic 2, but it was clearly like new art. So it was hinting at the visual style of the game. The concept, though, of revealing Sonic as the only playable character might seem weird today, but back then there was a reason for this. George, can you give any insight as to why it was a big deal to have a Sonic-only game at this time?
Friend fatigue. Yeah. Everyone was just tired of the friends always being in games, and I think a lot of people blamed Sonic games being bad because they would have to make multiple gameplay styles. And a lot of people at this moment were like, just focus on Sonic, get Sonic to feel good, and that's enough for most people. And I think even secretly at Sega, they kind of try to play around with that, like Unleashed. Like, you turn into a werewolf. Yeah. It's technically a second character, but it's not.
Yeah, that's a great point. And also, but Unleashed was one of the most recent, like, mainline games, which also played up that fact. So I think there was some weariness that it's like, Werehog was kind of a second character. Like, what is Sega going to do next? Are they going to bring Knuckles and Amy and Tails and Big and Vector? And it's weird now because, we, and I say most recently, even though it was some time ago, had Sonic Frontiers, the final DLC that finally let us play as Knuckles in 3D for the first time in
forever.
I guess since 2006?
Yeah.
Is that wrong? That seems right, which is really weird. Like a decade of no 3D Knuckles.
In a mainstream title, not, side games.
In a mainstream title, yes, where he can glide and climb things with his Knuckles. Same with Tails, I do believe. Same with Amy. And it's funny that when you talk about Sonic Mania, which I don't think we've done an episode on yet, but we will once we get through Sonic 4, 1, and 2, that the biggest crowd-pleasing moment, and we were there, we made that video that got millions of views, was the reveal that Tails and Knuckles were in a 2D game. Like, it's very interesting that in 2010, people were praising a 2D Sonic game for dropping additional characters, which was kind of like a thing. Like, that was what we expected for every new 2D Sonic game. They add a friend. Mm-hmm. And in Mania, they were like, we're adding Tails and Knuckles. It was like, yay, we get to play as Knuckles for the first time in any game since 2006. In, what was this, 2016?
Were you?
So that was 10 years.
Were you one of the people that didn't want the friends in the games?
I did want friends, but I wanted like Tails and Knuckles kind of friends, where they're speedy and they have new moves. But looking at this list, like Amy, you know, I liked Amy in Sonic Advance. Shadow, I think I wouldn't have wanted in a 2D Sonic game because he would have, no pun intended, overshadowed Sonic. Vector would have been weird, even though I love Vector and Chaotix. Like, Big would have been weird. Charmy would have been... I don't like Charmy. It's kind of like playing the debug mode where you can just fly anywhere, which is kind of weird. So it is...
Is there anyone that likes Charmy? Like, is there a big fan base for that character?
I don't think so. I think they like the Chaotix as a whole and how they interact with each other, but I don't think there's many people who will take Charmy on his own. There's a lot of Vector fans, there's a lot of Espio fans, but Charmy, he kind of just like exists as a part of the trio or the quartet if it's in the classic era. But so anyway, it was really weird that we were celebrating this. Like, less content, guys. Yay, less content. So continuing on, there were more trivia questions. So the trivia questions that they had continued on in January 27th, 2010. Sega launched a second and final blog competition inspired by fan artist Tracker's Slicer drawings. So to give you some context, after this Shellcracker artwork came out, which I don't have it in the notes, but you've probably seen it. You can look it up on Sonic Retro. They have all the character artwork. It's a 3/4 view of Shellcracker, and a fan took this style and they redrew Slicer, another character, or another Badnik. And so to kind of celebrate this, fans were asked to submit their own Badnik artwork, but based on... accompanied by official Motobug artwork as reference. So we had new art of Motobug, we had new art of Shellcracker, and they were kind of like, take other existing classic characters and do them in this style, which in hindsight, it kind of sounds like they're just like, do our work for us.
Pretty much.
Like, this is great.
I mean, now they would just use AI, but this is before AI.
Before AI, called I think we called it intelligence. RI. So once completed, Sega announced Hedgehog Week, which began on February 2nd, which was Groundhog Day, and promised major reveals and prizes. So Hedgehog Week, it began on February 2nd, 2010, which was Hedgehog Day, chosen to mark the original release of Sonic 3, the game that precedes what we would learn to be Sonic 4. Sega revealed concept art of a palm tree and sunflower reminiscent of Sonic 1, which... I didn't even put it in the notes, but it caused drama within the community to the point that I'll bring it up. So
just say it.
I think this is kind of an interesting part of Sonic 4 history. So we were very good friends with the community team there. I actually just talked about them a lot on the latest Swing and Report show. Julian and Kelly, fantastic people. They always answered an email. They always sent us prizes. They always... And by prizes, I mean things to give away to fans. They always, they opened their doors for me, even though I only walked into the lobby. It was very nice of them. And another website, TSSZ, which was run by Tristan Oliver Bresnan, I think his name was, he basically started attacking and trying to get Kelly fired because I do believe on Facebook they posted the palm tree art. And I guess he found that as the Sega being insulting to, I don't know, what?
Him as a journalist? I don't know. his integrity.
Right. Like now you can cancel a talk show for people just speaking their truth. But man, imagine at the time it was like they posted a palm tree. They're treating us like idiots. I don't know why he went off. But she was going through her own health related issues at the time, so it was kind of like, not cool, dude. This woman's just trying to do her job. Like, leave her alone. But essentially, Sega blacklisted TSSZ, I do believe, because of this. And they also, I think, posted some of the information that we're going to talk about in a little bit, which I don't believe SegaBits did. Maybe we just mentioned it happened, but we didn't share anything else. But the blog, getting back to the happy stuff, also hosted a prize giveaway based on post numbers with rewards ranging from Sonic merchandise to a copy of Sonic 3 signed by Takashi Iizuka, which was awarded to post 333. Sega clarified that the music clip was not the week's major reveal, which would come on February 4th. And at midnight Pacific time on February 4th, Project Needle Mouse was officially revealed as Sonic the Hedgehog 4 on GameSpot, alongside a brief gameplay trailer, very brief, in an interview with Ken Ballow. So let's watch that trailer and put ourselves back in that 2010 mindset.
Let's do it. I'm going to press play.
Peggy 3.
Oh
man. Sonic 1, Sonic 2, Sonic 3. What is it going to be, George?
It has to be 4, right? Wow.
Oh my God, look.
It's totally different though, too. That wasn't that fast.
In 2010, the adventure continues.
Wow.
Yeah. Wait, episode 1? Download it? What is this? Whoa. So there you go. And you'll notice they have one of the platforms locked.
What is
hidden.
that?
I don't know which one is that. Just
so
PC?
Steam? Mobile? I'm assuming mobile maybe?
Because it's iOS, you're right.
Because they have literally everything else.
It's the App Store, yeah. And it's interesting because I think I remember, I do remember watching the trailer when it released, but I think I remember the title, the YouTube title's right there. So you're like, oh, it's Sonic 4. All right, well, let's watch the trailer. They should have hidden that.
Yeah. Yeah, especially,
it's interesting, though, because this is at least the Sega Europe release of the trailer. It only has 140,000 views, which seems really low.
Yeah. And I was going to tell you also,
Very low.
Did you see that, when you play it side by side, it really shows you, that when Sonic does that little twist with his legs, and he does the circle, the little hurricane thing, it really makes him seem faster than he really is. And then when you see it in 4, they omitted that, so it makes it look weird. Like he's power
I will say
walking.
he does do the spin, I think, when he hits max speed, but it's weird that they didn't put it in this trailer.
I agree.
It kind of a mistake there. But how did you initially react when you saw that trailer? You kind of gave us a little taste of that just now.
I thought that it needed an improvement, but I wasn't hating on it. I didn't think it should have been called Sonic 4. I think that's the biggest issue with the game, and why fans are disliked it, because obviously it wasn't going to be up to the standard. Like when you expect 4, you expect it to be right after 3, so that means you probably should take all the physics and all the things that made 1, 2, and 3, Sonic 1, 2, and 3, and make it for 4. Like Sonic Mania is obviously more of a 4th game than this one is. Well,
yes. Yeah, and I mean, when you talk about Sonic Team themselves at this time, they were not a bad developer. They had made Sonic Unleashed, which I think a lot of people enjoyed. They liked there was some 2D portions that played well. Sonic Colors had yet to release, but it released shortly after Sonic 4, a month later, and had... I remember at the time playing Sonic 4, and then playing Sonic Colors and playing the 2D sections, and I'm like, oh, this this is good. And I didn't hate Sonic 4 at the time, but I was definitely like, why did they pass it off to Dimps when they could have had Sonic Team, who seem good at making 2D games still, do this? And I even remember fast forwarding to Sonic Generations. The 2D sections in there I thought were fantastic. So it's like clearly Sega had the in-house talent to make a 2D Sonic game, but for whatever reason they farmed it out to Dimps and just had a few Sonic Team developers like overseeing the project, which, yeah, it is a strange decision to make. Though it's nowhere near as... It's just as strange to hire a bunch of white guys, essentially, to make a Sonic game from the fan community. I mean, I know they're not all white, but, with Sonic Mania. So I don't know. I guess what I'm trying to say is in-house, Sega had the talent, but for whatever reason, they didn't want to do that work. And I guess because they were busy with Colors, they were busy with probably very early work on Generations. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's kind of
hard
about
that title.
To do everything, especially when they were like, you hear all those weird stories from old Sonic Team members, and they're like, yeah, they worked this to the bone, basically, and we never slept. So, I see.
Right, and, I will note, too, that the jump from the classic design to the modern design, it wasn't weird at the time, because you have to remember that there was no classic and modern Sonic at the time. I mean, I think we knew that there was, like, the old games, and then there was, like, Sonic with the green eyes since Adventure, but there weren't two branches that they, like, made merch for and that they made games for. Like, it really was just, like, after Sonic 3 and Knuckles, starting in 1998, Sonic had green eyes and was lanky, and that's just how it was. So it wasn't a shock to see these modern designs in this 2D game, and I don't remember much, if any, people like being upset that they didn't make this look like... Maybe there were people that wanted to have pixel art, but I don't remember a lot of people being like, why didn't they make it like an HD game with like a HD version of classic Sonic? And it really wasn't until Generations that we were in 2011 that we were like, whoa, they brought him back. Right. That was a actual shock, because Sega had really put classic Sonic on the shelf since 1997, and we didn't get merch, and we didn't get games, and all of a sudden, and I have them next to me here, we were getting all of this Sonic merch in the classic styles, and it was kind of a shock. So I don't think that was a mark on Sonic 4 at the time, because it was just an expectation that Sega would never have an old design for a new game, even if it had a title like this. But in an interview with Nintendo Life, Ken Ballow explained, this is him speaking, when we started discussing doing a 2D Sonic game, it just made sense that we would make Sonic 4. It's a game fans have been asking about for years, and we felt we had the right team to make it. Ballow maintained that the game was always called Sonic 4. Journalist Kurt Kalata, who I've met, he writes the Hardcore Gaming 101 books.
Oh, yeah.
He reported that it was originally conceived as a smartphone-exclusive spin-off called Sonic the Portable. And if you remember earlier, I mentioned Sonic DL. So my belief is that the game internally was Sonic DL. That was never going to actually be the name. It's kind of like calling something Project Sonic 2017, and it ends up being Forces. But I do believe Sonic the Portable was considered to be the title, because if you go into Casino Street and run around and look at the background, you can see Sonic the Portable on signs in the city, but they kind of blurred it just a tiny bit. They like obscured it, which is weird. Like, I don't know why you didn't just change it to Sonic 4 or something else. It's kind of odd that they're like, just make the asset a little more difficult to read, but not completely difficult to read. Kurt also mentioned that the game was designed to take advantage of mobile devices' gyroscope functions, and he added the game was retitled Sonic 4 at the request of Sega's American branch, and expanded into a multi-platform release, noting that one level still includes signs, as I mentioned, reading Sonic the Portable. Now here's the drama. So in February 2010, SegaBits started as a website, and it destroyed Sonic fandom and Sega fandom forever. But and George, can you speak to that? Why did you do this? Why did you play a part in making this terrible fan site?
I was bored. No, I what do you mean, like spreading these rumors?
I'm just kidding.
Because like I don't have to answer for that. I think the public needs to know.
I'm just kidding.
I know. Oh.
Yeah, speak for your. Yeah, I know. No, you're on trial right now. No, actually, in February 2010, a build of Sonic 4 Episode 1 leaked from Xbox Live Arcade's PartnerNet, leading to a widespread sharing of screenshots, music, and full gameplay. The build was heavily criticized for floaty physics, poor animations, and gimmick-based levels, sparking backlash among fans. In response, Sega delayed the game till later in 2010 to refine physics and level design based on feedback. Also around this time, Sega confirmed the iPhone and iPod Touch versions, each featuring unique motion control levels with Lost Labyrinth Act 2 and Casino Street Act 2, while consoles received alternative stages. At E3 that June, footage hinted at physics improvements, though Sega clarified the demo wasn't the latest build. So this leak was a big deal at the time, and it's a rare case of a Sonic game leaking. I don't think this has ever happened before or since. We've had demos come out, and people would data mine them and find out, like stage names, character names, DLC, but nothing on this level.
Like before the game came out.
Did you... Right. Did you watch the leaked gameplay?
Yeah. I did. I think this was actually good for Sega in the long run because, like, imagine...
Yeah.
It was. I mean, Sonic 4 is already received negatively, but imagine if they just released what they thought was good. But it's like, I think, a broader issue with, like, you said that the game should have been called Sonic Portable, but Sega of America decided to cash in on the Sonic 4 name because it's popular in the fandom. Very short-sighted. Right. And also, obviously, something was happening at this time in Sega of America where they leaked the full build. It wasn't even this. I caught them leaking, like, not even leaking, just like, oh, here's a press release, and then you go up a couple of things, and then you get 2 character key asset arts for Sonic All-Stars Racing randomly. You're like, oh, wait, what? So these 2 characters are going to be in it? And so I think a couple of times I just messaged them back and told them privately, like, this is what's happening. But, like, come on, man. Like, so I'm not that surprised that this was happening. It was very loosey-goosey over there with security.
Yeah.
What do you
Yeah,
think?
I mean, you look at Crossworlds right now, which, as we record this, comes out in a week. And they've been very good at hiding a lot of this stuff. There were some leaks, I remember, of, I think, SpongeBob leaked a few days early. But, like, they have that key art, and the key art has been updated every time, like, major characters are revealed. Like, the Minecraft guys are added. But, like, back in the day, Sega would just have key art that had characters and things they haven't revealed yet. And it's like, what's this? Now, around this time, wait, I already read that. The next question I was going to ask, was Sega wise to delay the game? You said yes, and I honestly think, as sucky as this probably was for being a Sega staffer, it was for the best. I don't, like, again, I'm kind of a Sonic 4 apologist, and I hope people don't hate me for that, but if this game had released in the quality that it was with the PartnerNet build and essentially played like the iOS version in HD, there's a lot of issues I have with the original iOS release. Those 2 stages I mentioned, they're very boring. Lost Labyrinth is a minecart that basically goes through a pretty linear stage. There's not really any branching paths. Casino Street Zone is just a straight up single pinball stage where you have to earn a certain amount of points. It's very easy to do. It's not fun or interesting at all. And the delay actually caused them to make these stages better, which is actually kind of surprising. And I'll talk about those once we get to the release. But there are signs, too, that SEGA is actually making changes based on, like, public events. Like, I don't know if you remember, but Aaron was at an event and people were playing the game on demo screens, and they were like, why does Sonic hit the edge of the screen and not leave like he does in every other stage? And Aaron's like, yeah, that's a problem. That's not going to happen. And they did change it, which is kind of funny. But it's like,
good.
You know, it does show you that there's very basic things that SEGA was not getting right with this game. Or I should say Dimps wasn't getting right, and SEGA wasn't like catching it in the preview, in the internal builds. Another thing that comes to mind, George, I don't know if you remember this, but like the spin dash sound effects are switched. They're wrong.
Right.
Right?
Right.
It's like the rev up and the peel out are wrong. They're flipped. It's weird.
It's so many little things in this game, like homing attack. I don't know. You think that's an evolution of Sonic 3? I don't know. But I guess we'll talk about it in the gameplay section.
Yeah. Well, let's finish up the pre-release stuff. So in June 2010, SEGA launched a video contest for Sonic's 19th anniversary, with the winner earning a trip to Tokyo to see the finished Episode 1. Open to US and UK, the contest featured 10 finalists from each country, including, oh boy, Sonic Stadium staffers Dreadnux and T-Bird, who I've since seen invited to like Sonic movie premieres, so I wonder if there was a little, rigging going on there. The voting system was actually exploited through cookie clearing, leading SEGA to suspend it on July 16th, and on August 2nd, the winners were selected by SEGA staff. All right, let's get into the gameplay. George, if you want to throw some beautiful gameplay footage on there, we can all enjoy that. So October rolled around. Sonic 4 Episode 1 was released. Let's talk about the game's story. So Sonic 4 Episode 1 takes place shortly after the events of Sonic 3 and Knuckles and serves as a prelude to Episode 2. Following the destruction of Dr. Eggman's space station, Sonic decides it's time for a well-earned break. He parts ways with Tails and Knuckles and sets off to explore new lands on his own. Unbeknownst to him, Eggman has survived their last battle. Determined to settle the score, the villain revisits and upgrades some of his most infamous machines in a renewed effort to stop Sonic once and for all. Sonic must race through 4 new zones: Splash Hill, Casino Street, Lost Labyrinth, and Mad Gear, each culminating in encounters against Eggman's enhanced contraptions. After overcoming these challenges, Sonic faces the Doctor in a boss rush showdown. If the player completes the game with all 7 Chaos Emeralds, they unlock Super Sonic, and a post-credit scene teases the return of Metal Sonic, which sets the stage for Episode 2. So, George, in comparison to Sonic 1, CD, 2, 3, and Knuckles, how does the story of Sonic 4 compare? Episode 1 specifically.
It just feels like it's a kind of a retelling, obviously. I don't think, so here's I've been playing the new Shinobi game. I'm almost close to beating it.
Yeah.
I don't think you need to have a great story for some of these games like this. I think the basic story is good enough. So I'm not really hung up on story, but what about your opinion?
I mean, the story of Sonic 4 Episode 1 almost doesn't exist.
Right.
It's basically, I think, within the game, you can click like an about, and it'll show you controls, and it'll have this blurb, I do believe.
But does it need it?
A very short... But the game itself, and I mean, to be fair, Sonic 2 doesn't acknowledge Sonic 1's story. Sonic 3 and Knuckles does acknowledge Sonic 2's story with the Death Egg. And so it is kind of strange that as the games went on in the numbered series, they build on the story, they make things a little more complex, and then 4 comes out, and it's essentially just Sonic
One again
going through stages that very much look like Sonic 2 stages, finding enemies or bosses and enemies from Sonic 1 and 2. But it's not as though like the enemies have new attacks and the bosses do, but they're not so like reinvented to the point where you're like, all right, this is wild. It's like, like Eggman showed up with the wrecking ball, but he was inside the wrecking ball. Like, they could have done something wacky, but they didn't. They just were like, oh, when he gets mad, the wrecking ball like spins around and smashes down. Like, that's not super inventive. But yeah, so story-wise, it's not much, and it definitely shows that this was initially just kind of like a portable retelling of Sonic. Essentially, and I'm glad I'm bringing this up, because it leads into another thing I want to talk about. Sonic Pocket Adventure is very much like Sonic 4 Episode 1 for a few reasons. One thing is that even though Dimps didn't make Sonic Pocket Adventure, the game was made by SNK, and former SNK staff went on to make or form Dimps, and then Dimps made Sonic games. And I did look into this some time ago, and there is one, I think, staff member from SNK who went to Dimps and worked on Sonic 4 Episode 1 and Sonic Pocket Adventure. So there is someone there that did witness the creation of both these games. And just like with this game, Pocket Adventure has, I do believe, an Emerald Hill Zone equivalent, a casino equivalent, a labyrinth equivalent, and a Mad Gear equivalent. So it's like, this is essentially an HD Sonic Pocket Adventure. Now, if you were to take
just
every Sonic game... Mm-hmm.
You think they should have just called
it,
that's
like, the thing.
Pocket Adventure Neo or something?
Well, the thing is, and I do think Sega of America was right to make this also a console title, because I think this was, like, we know this was originally a portable game that was on the new, at the time, App Store. There were a lot of fun and interesting platformers on the App Store, but nothing from major publishers. Like, Nintendo wasn't making games.
No.
For the App Store. Sega was, and so the fact that Sega was releasing a brand new platformer with 4 stages, it seems small, but that's quite big in the App Store. And I remember at the time when I was writing about smartphone games, specifically from Sega, like, this stood head and shoulders above any other platformer at the time. Like, this was it sounds weird to say, but like, this was like a AAA platformer in a world of kind of, there were some great games for sure, but a lot of them were kind of like 99-cent cash grabs. I don't think microtransactions were really a thing at that time. So it was really just like,
the farting app was like one of the best selling things,
Yeah, so that's kind of where apps were at the time. They just like did one silly thing. Like, oh, there was like the level app, so you could find the level on things. But then when this came out, there was also an RPG called I think it was called Zenonia, that like was huge. Like, it's like, oh, this is like an SNES quality RPG on the phone. So in that regard, Sonic 4 was actually like really great on the App Store. And I think Sega was smart to make a Xbox Live Arcade equivalent, because that was also blowing up at the time. And I guess what I'm trying to get at is, like, Sonic the Portable doesn't make sense when you're making an Xbox Live Arcade game. So what could this have been titled? I mean, I don't think Sonic 4 in retrospect was the right title to give it, but I feel like if we have Sonic Rush, why couldn't we call this like Sonic blah, like another word? I don't know why they didn't do that. That would have been fine, and then people would have been like, oh yeah, did you play the new, I don't know,
Sonic 2D?
Pitch something, George. Like, what would it be? It would be like Sonic No, it's not Sonic Classic. See, it is kind of tricky.
Right.
You're like, oh, Fuck it.
But I think
Fuck it. Make it Sonic 4.
Using the 4 name was not it, because you, like you said, you would expect it to get bigger and larger than 3 and Knuckles, which, to be honest with you,
exactly,
it's hard to top. Even I think Sonic Mania, some people would say, didn't top Sonic and Knuckles just because they had such a high amount of new levels. So it's kind of
right. I think it only had 4 new levels, didn't it?
Both of them to get. Oh, you mean you're talking about Mania?
Sonic Mania.
Yeah, probably. And then plus,
I don't remember, but
yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of tricky because like Sega were like, it's right there. You could call it Sonic 4, and then it would elevate this game in terms of like
popularity,
marketing, and news media, or you could have just called it like, okay, let's say we called it Sonic Dash. Even though Sonic Dash was another game. Like, let's say, instead of calling Sonic Dash, this was Sonic Dash. Now, Sonic Rush, that was like a boosting game. Sonic Dash, the new HD game where Sonic runs through classic stages, it's just a downloadable game. It's $10 or $15 or whatever, $5. Go and have fun. You know, like, that wouldn't have raised a stink, but I also don't think it would have excited or caught the attention of like GameSpot and IGN and the like. They would have just been like, "Oh, Sonic's got a new digital game. It's fine. Check it out." You know, like.
I agree.
But one last little bit I wanted to mention was like, if you take all the Sonic games into account, like where does the Sonic 4 story sit in the timeline? Now, I've always considered that Sonic 4 is and will forever be the final, or actually I should say the first green-eyed Sonic game, if you look at it in chronological order, because this sits right before Sonic Adventure, but it can't exist before really anything else. But what does happen before Sonic 4, in my opinion, is actually, and this is super geeky, but the Sonic Pocket Adventure, because when you play that game, again, Sonic's going through old stages, but when you get to the end of the game, Robotnik is going into outer space, and he loses his classic costume, which he wears throughout the game, and he puts on his modern Sonic Adventure costume for the first time in a game, and this is during the space section of the game. So if you've seen the Sonic 3, and I don't know if you're following, George, this might be too geeky for you.
It's pretty geeky.
But if you've seen the Sonic 3... If you've seen the Sonic 3 movie, when they go into outer space, what outfit does Gerald give Ivo Robotnik?
I don't remember. You're going to tell...
he gives him the Sonic Adventure outfit, which is a spacesuit, right?
Right.
So my headcanon, and if I ever take Ian Flynn's job, this is going to become canon, is that in Sonic Pocket Adventure, as soon as Sonic and Eggman went to outer space, that suit that we saw in Sonic Adventure was Eggman's spacesuit. And this tracks because in Sonic 4, even though there's not much story, one of the new elements is that there's Egg Station at the end of the game. And again, Eggman's in outer space. So my headcanon is that Sonic Pocket Adventure is Eggman revisiting some of his classic vehicles and everything, but really his end goal is to relaunch his space program. Sonic 4 sees Eggman successfully launching his Egg Station satellite, and he's, this whole game wearing that spacesuit. And then when you get into episode 2 of Sonic 4, which we won't discuss too much on this episode, he succeeds in his space mission. He captures Little Planet, and then it brings in the whole Sonic 2 Metal Sonic thing, which, again, I'm getting ahead of myself, but I think the greatest thing about Sonic 4 Episode 2 is that it brings Sonic CD, which always was kind of an outlier within to the numbered games canon by bringing back Metal Sonic. And I'm just going to keep going until you stop me. In Sonic 4 Episode 2, at the end of it, they establish how Metal Sonic has come back and is damaged, right? And then in Sonic Adventure, where do you see Metal Sonic? He's back with Eggman again in a tank being rebuilt and I guess refreshed But how did he get there? He got there because of the events of Sonic 4 Episode 2. So, as weak as Sonic 4 Episode 1's story is, I think if I were Ian Flynn, I'd write a little comic about this. And maybe I just will write a comic because it sounds fun. There is, it fits really well within canon. Anyway. In terms of gameplay, Sonic 4 is very simple. Controls are essentially Sonic 2 with a homing attack, and items are also from Sonic 1 and 2. So we have the shield, the speed shoes, and the invincibility. Kind of boring. Despite the new names, the stages are essentially HD remakes of Emerald Hill, Casino Night, Labyrinth, and Metropolis zones. The obvious rehashes aside, how did you like or dislike the look, layouts, and gimmicks found in these quote-unquote new stages?
I didn't expect it to be like console quality at the time or whatever because it was a downloadable game, and I think it kind of reminded me of a not as nice looking Braid. Like that one also has this weird 3D kind of effects for the background. I didn't hate the outline. It has this weird kind of fake cell shaded kind of look to it. What I didn't like is just the more like the animation. Obviously, I would rather have a pixel graphics and be like Sonic Mania, but I think it's the animation that makes it jarring when you play the game more than it is the actual graphics. Not that they're amazing. Obviously, when you look back, they're very outdated, but I don't think it's the worst thing about the game. Maybe people are gonna go crazy in the comments and disagree, but I don't think they were the worst thing ever at the time. So, what do you think?
Right. Yeah. So I think when you look at the classic Genesis games, there's two ways you could go about bringing those into HD. You could go the Sonic 4 route, where they bring them in and they almost look like plastic, shiny plastic worlds, because that really kind of looks like what they do in Sonic 2, but with the pixelation, it kind of hides that sort of almost graphical look for these things. Like, there aren't blades of grass. It's just like a chunk. And when they brought it into HD with this game, instead of making it look like what eventually became Sonic Generations Green Hill Zone, they went the other way and they made it look like, I don't know if you remember Lisa Frank, but like those super bright, sleek, shiny graphical take on like reality, where it looks surreal. I actually kind of like that look, but I think the problem is that in some of the versions of the game, the characters and so Sonic and the enemies and Eggman, they kind of clashed with the look. They didn't really blend in that well, depending on the version. And we'll talk a little bit more about graphics in a bit. But yeah, there was a clash there. I will say I did like some of the gimmicks. I just thought it was kind of strange that each stage had a gimmick that didn't carry over to other stages and didn't build on each other. So, for example, Splash Hill Act 2 had those zip lines, but Act 3 had the vines. But it's not like they had vines and zip lines throughout all three acts, or built on doing a zip line to a vine. Like, they just didn't combine those things, which I thought was a little weird. The cannons that you could control, the cards in Casino Street, like, I thought those were kind of cool, but again, they like had a cannon act and then a card act, and they never crossed paths with them. So yeah, it was like the gimmick was tied to the act, which was, I don't know. I did like, though, how it got later in the day during the Splash Hill. I really liked the sunset stage, at least in terms of like the look. But yeah, like I'm saying, I personally thought that the like the most inventive ones were actually those Act 2 zones, or Act 2 stages that were in the console versions. But talking about the iOS and Android versions, so those retained a lot of elements from the PartnerNet build. In fact, one could say that the closest version to the PartnerNet build is the iOS version as it originally existed. Those included the rotating minecart in Lost Labyrinth and the score attack section in Casino Street. So if you want to try an early version of the game, you can still try it on mobile, but you can't try it on console. The music also did not loop properly, and the camera rotates through loops. Do you remember that effect? It didn't carry over to the consoles, but like you'd go through the loop-to-loop and the camera would rotate. You remember that?
No, I don't. That's crazy. That's not good.
Yeah. It kind of looked cool, but I'm kind of glad they dropped it because it was a little gimmicky. As mentioned, the console and PC versions had new Act 2 stages for Lost Labyrinth and Casino Street. Lost Labyrinth had Sonic holding a torch and lighting fuses to blow up walls, while Casino Street had a gimmick where you homing attack playing cards, which become roads you run on. And personally, I think these are the most original and inventive acts in the game. And I think it's interesting that at least the best gimmicks were the ones that came after the delay. So it kind of shows that there was, I think, a little talent at Dimps that was able to shine through when they didn't rush the release of the game. What did you think of like the torch and the playing cards as compared to the pinball stage and the minecart?
I mean, I haven't played the game in a long time, but like I thought that the card stuff was good. I mean, and also when people say that there's gimmicks in Sonic games, isn't that basically every Sonic game? Like I always assumed, not that.
For sure.
Yeah, so like it's always been stage gimmicks. So I'm like confused why that would be like. What do you want them to do? Make one on like? Is it just because of the gimmicks were like people thought they were lame or something?
No, at least for me, I was always looking for what's new and unique in this game. So, like, as I mentioned, Egg Station is new and unique, even though within it just kind of plays like Death Egg. The cards were new and unique. The zip line, the torch. Like, I liked these things that kind of defined the game rather than it just feeling like Sonic Pocket Adventure HD. I love Sonic Pocket Adventure, but like. You're not going to play that instead of Sonic 2, So if I'm going to pick up Sonic 4 Episode 1, I want it to present something new and unique. And it didn't bring a new character in. It didn't bring new and original stages. It's not like we got Studiopolis Zone and Mirage Saloon. Like, we're just getting Casino Night again,
Did you want more new gimmicks in the game? Like, would that have made you happy where, like, they added more, like, innovative ideas?
I think if this game had elemental shields, if it had Tails and Knuckles playable, doesn't even need, like, a new fourth character, just Tails and Knuckles, though a fourth character would make a lot of sense because it's Sonic 4.
Right.
Maybe even just bring Amy in, like modern Amy Rose with kind of a spin on her Sonic Advance playstyle, which at this point, Amy did have a 2D playstyle, so I don't know why they couldn't have done that. I think that would have greatly helped the game. I also think cutscenes that are a little bit more interesting would have really helped, and things to tie it in with Sonic 3 and Knuckles. We don't need like voiced characters and stuff, but just give us a little something. Like, this is an HD game in 2010, and yet there's less going on in it than Sonic 3 and Knuckles. And again, I know this was never originally Sonic 4, but you could have done more with the time that you had, maybe. And I think Sonic 4 Episode 2 kind of shows that they did do a lot more with the time that they had. But yeah, that's my main complaint. Oh yes, another big platform difference was that the time you were given to complete the special stages was increased on consoles compared to handhelds. I remember this well, but I experienced it again earlier this year. I was traveling a lot this year, and I was playing Sonic 4 on my iPhone, and I was like getting to the special stage, and I'm like, what the hell? Like, on handheld, you get just enough time maybe to complete the stage with a near flawless run, but on consoles, I came home and I played the game. I had like a good 15-20 seconds to complete the stage.
That's a lot.
As time was running, like, on the mobile one, time would be running out, but on the console one, I had like 20 seconds. So they made time way too tight, and it just made the game very difficult. I don't think I've ever played a Supersonic on the smartphone version outside of the original release, which I did grind and unlock, and then like I deleted it and lost my save data. So whoops. Talking about graphics, the Xbox 360 version appears to be the brightest, with heavy bloom. The PS3 version uses less, and the iPad version features altered, less reflective textures. The iPhone and iPod Touch version has low-res sprites, or had low-res sprites, because you can't play that version anymore, in the style of Sonic Rush, and Sonic's idle animation pulled out in iPhone, which you would listen to the stage music on. Personally, I thought the low-res look on iPhone was oddly endearing, and in my opinion, it actually made the game feel a little bit more like what a DS Sonic 4 might look like. Since then, though, all handheld versions of the game have upgraded to using console-quality graphics, but maintaining the handheld stages and the things like the shorter timer and the camera spinning when you go through loops. This upgrade at the time was called Sonic 4 Episode 1 HD for iPad and released a year after the game's initial release. And for a time, and I was actually going to put it in the notes, but I learned doing the notes that a browser version of the original iPhone version was available to play online. You could even play it on your phone, but it was taken down. So I don't know if the user, maybe too much traffic, or Sega sent them a takedown notice, which would surprise me because Sega doesn't even care about this game anymore. But have you played the original low-res iPhone version? I don't think you have.
No, I haven't. I've never owned a iProduct in my life, and I'm not allowed to. I think if I actually buy an iPhone...
What about a Google phone?
I don't have a Google. I have a Samsung phone.
Okay.
But okay. I do like the new iPhone that just got announced. I think it's cool that they made an orange one. I was like, all right, that's pretty cool. You almost got me. Didn't they just release a new phone or show a new phone?
The iPhone Air?
Is that what it's called now? They're not numbering it anymore?
Is it the super thin one?
I was thinking about...
No, they are.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know what it's called. I just saw pictures of it online on a YouTube thumbnail. That's all I know about it. And it has some thermal stuff going on with the whatever. But yeah, I've never played the low-res version, so it's new to me. Cool. I didn't even know.
Yeah, it is interesting, though, that there's so many different versions of this game. So you have the low-res iPhone 1 that has the old PartnerNet build stages, has the shorter timer, so it's very difficult to collect all the emeralds, and has the loop-de-loop spin, as well as Sonic hitting the edge of the screen and not walking off. I believe that's also in that build. And then you have the iPad version, which has since replaced the iPhone version, that essentially looks like the console version, but the character models are actually, I think they're best because they don't have this bloom effect. They actually look like animated renders, which is kind of weird but cool. And then you have the Wii version. And the Wii version, I'll talk about the music in a second, that was kind of a defining trait of it. Had SD graphics, had worse music, but some people actually say better music because it's MIDI style. And then you have the HD version on Steam consoles. So it's you have essentially four different versions of the game floating around there. But talking about the music of Sonic 4 Episode 1 was composed and arranged by Jun Sano, a prominent composer and guitarist who has worked on many Sonic titles. You might know him best from Crush 40. The soundtracks for both Episode 1 and 2 of Sonic 4 are attributed to Jun, aiming to recapture the classic feel of the original Genesis Sonic games. I actually, myself, earlier this year, tried to buy the soundtrack to Sonic 4 Episode 1, which, like many Sonic CDs released in the past 20 years, have shot up in value to insane prices. I think on eBay, people are trying to sell it for $300.
Worth every
which is
penny.
Ridiculous.
Every penny.
a CD soundtrack that exists online. You can download the music. But I actually found a guy on Discogs from Japan who was selling it for like $50, and I'm like, I'll buy it. And then after I purchased it, I looked at his reviews, and everyone was like, this dude takes months to even ship. Sometimes he'll just be like, oh, I don't have it in stock, and he'll refund me. And I was one of the unfortunate he messaged me, he's like, next time you buy something, ask me first if I have it, because I don't have it. And I was like, maybe don't list things for sale if you don't have it. 1 star. Like, you suck, dude. You're the worst man in Japan. The music has been criticized for its poor choice of synthesized instruments, as well as low-quality DAC recordings from Sonic 2 that vary little between songs. Jun said that he looked into using a Mega Drive sound font, but could not find in any this is all very techie for me, could not find an NEC PC-88, a popular 80s Japanese computer with similar sound hardware, to run software on. To meet WiiWare size limits, the Wii version used sequence music similar to MIDI, differing from the recorded tracks on 360 and PS3, and is capped at 640 by 480 resolution.
Which, it had to.
Sonic 4's music is, like the game itself, liked or hated depending on the fan. Where do you fall in terms of the soundtrack?
I don't know anything about this like poorly produced stuff because I'm not a sound engineer. Obviously, if you heard this podcast, you know that. It's self-evident.
Yeah.
I will say that I just think it's whatever. It sounds like a lot of them are just repeated tracks. I would say that he probably phoned it in, but I wouldn't say it's horrible, and I wouldn't say it's like the worst soundtrack I ever heard. I don't think I've ever. Maybe maybe fans will start commenting, but I don't think I've ever heard a really, really, really bad Sonic soundtrack, even with the Bentley Jones musics that they were putting in some of these games.
Yeah.
Oh
my God, this was the era of Bentley Jones. 2010 was his year.
He was famous.
Oh, man,
he was on the top.
So much more. Oh boy. The music. I guess what was weird about this is, at the time during the Genesis days, the sound was a limitation that the composers had to work with. And Jun himself actually did music for Sonic 3D Blast, so he knows. He knows it was a limitation. As soon as Sonic CD came out, though, they were like, we need CD quality sound. So it is kind of weird that, like, you make Sonic 4 Episode 1, graphics are HD, Sonic looks modern, and yet the music is intentionally held back to emulate Mega Drive music, but not actually be Mega Drive music. So it's like, why didn't you just make, like, a beautiful soundtrack with real instruments? Like, you actually can do this on the original 360. You can do custom music, like play music from your hard drive and it replaces the game music. And I tried it. I did like Palm Tree Panic. It's amazing. Like, it elevates the game so much. And yet instead it was like, oh no pixel graphics, HD graphics. Okay, how about the sound? Oh, it's going to sound like, a synthesizer.
Yeah,
like it's kind of. It's like, what is this game? Is it a sequel but in the HD era, or is it a demake? Like, what are you going for here with the sound? It's very odd.
I think doing like a full soundscape of a band or whatever, but like imitating the idea of translating this to more instruments as a classic game. Like, what would Green Hill Zone sound like if there was an actual like full-sized band? It doesn't have to be a rock and roll band, but it could have been like I don't know, what genre of music do you think would represent it the best in a band? Right.
Well, the Sonic 4 CD that I tried to buy but couldn't, I think the final track actually has like a instrument quality, like mega mix of different, like a medley basically, I think. But there definitely exists like a quality version, like an instrument quality version of Splash Hill that sounds so much better. So it's like, why didn't you just do that? Like, get your guitar out and just jam with your buddies and make a cool soundtrack. Like, SEGA, in their entire history, always pushed the envelope of music. As soon as they could do CD quality music, they were doing CD quality music. It sounded amazing. So it's kind of weird that they went this direction, yet the graphics weren't allowed to be pixelated. Speaking of things that people complained about, Sonic 4 Episode 1, and we're getting to it, guys, here it is, was criticized for its floaty physics, likely due to its use of the Sonic Rush engine. This can often result in various oddities, such as Sonic being able to stand sideways on walls. I personally love doing that. Another major criticism is Sonic uncurling when he flies off an edge. I hated uncurling. I suffered for it until I took Hims, those little pills, and then I stopped uncurling.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thus leaving him susceptible, you're welcome, to enemy attacks. Following negative reception from older builds, it was confirmed that the physics would be tuned up for the final release. However, it has been stated that dramatic changes in the way that the game plays would have required extensive level redesign, which was not possible at the time. So I actually don't think they ever actually did. I don't think they actually changed the physics at all. I think they just said they did, but they didn't. What do you think about that uncurling? That did bother me. Did you not like that? Like, Sonic's not a ball when he goes off the edge. He opens up.
Yeah, it's weird. That's what I said. Like,
it is
little
weird.
things like that is where you're like, okay. I mean, it feels like it's small stuff they could have fixed. It's almost like, all right.
Right.
I mean,
and I mean, if you're watching this on video, like, you're like this. So this is like classic Sonic 3. You go off an edge, whoop, you're a ball now, flying through the air, and you kind of follow that arc with your speed. Sonic 4, whoop, you go off the edge, Sonic opens up, and he's just like, he's like, wee,
it's creepy,
flying through the air, and the only way to turn into a ball again is to do a homing attack, but that stops your momentum. You blast forward just a little bit, and then you kind of fall down. And that doesn't work when you're like going over a pit or something, but you want to bop an enemy, but you don't want to homing attack an enemy. You just want to like bounce off them and keep going. So it was like, it was a poor decision for sure. We reviewed the game, George, and people can check that out. George, you reviewed the game for PSN, and I reviewed the game for iOS. I think it's the website. No, here it is. So we're not going to read your whole review. I'm not going to shame you or anything.
Well, you could go down to the bottom,
but I will get to the end here.
Yeah.
For sure. So your positives were
horrible.
The game had some great levels,
some
pure Sonic gameplay, George, 60 frames per second, 99% of the time in 1080p. That's true. Sonic is finally silent. I will say that is a big positive. I can imagine them doing this game, and like Roger Craig Smith, who I think was the new hire at the time. Because Sonic Colors was his first game. Imagine if this was his first spoken game, and he was like, yeah, whoa, yeah, whoa. Like, oh my God, shut up, Sonic. Negatives, copy and paste locations and boss battles from other games, physics worse than older games, homing attack not needed, and short for the price. And you gave it a B.
I think.
Would you revise that score?
For sure, it'd be more like a C minus. I'm gonna be honest with you. There's like, this is yeah. I had people literally like give me so much I don't know shit about this, saying like, oh, how can I know this game is good when you loved Sonic Episode 1? And maybe I was a little biased at the time, but I saw this more as like comparing it to other PSN games at the time, and it was such a young store, and looking back at it, it's obviously not a big game, at least for a console game. I would definitely give it lower now, but then again, we've also had an evolution of PSN and all these games. So maybe I was just being weird because I was looking at it. It's like, wow, PSN sucks, right? So I'm just saying, at the time, it was such a young market. There's only such like maybe 50 games that you could buy.
I mean, at the time, this was pretty good for Xbox Live Arcade, PSN, and especially the App Store. In my iPhone review, I feel like I looked in the comments, people were actually very nice to me, which is interesting.
Never nice to me, but it's fine.
But I said the positives were classic gameplay rules apply, which they do. Touch controls beat out any of the re-released Genesis games, which is true because at this time Sonic 1 and 2 did have ports to iOS, and the touch controls were not good. On this game, they actually were quite good. I also said it was one of the fastest and most professional-looking iPhone platformers, which it was. Game runs smoothly, even on the oldest iPod Touch and iPhone device, which I think is a good positive. As many acts as Sonic 3 without lock-on, which I wish Sega hired me for their marketing team, because that is true, right? Because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 acts, right?
Right.
But if you had Sonic 3 without lock-on, it's 2 acts per state. That one's a little silly.
Little.
Negatives, the character models aren't as good as the console versions, which is funny because I actually now see that as a positive. I like it almost feels like a DS game. Tweaks and improvements done to console versions were not carried over to this version. Yeah, that was a shame. Not as many acts as Sonic 1 and 2, and I gave this a B. A B. B is for Barry. If I were to revise my score, I'd give it a B- in terms of iPhone title. I think Episode 2 was a lot better.
Oh, yeah.
And showed all the problems that this game had.
For sure.
But I don't think it was a bad game given the platform. And I think that's why a lot of people wished it remained a smartphone game, just because it then would have been like Sonic the Portable. I remember that. That was pretty fun. B, like.
Yep.
But it wasn't. It wasn't to be. Do you think fans were right to criticize Sonic 4 Episode 1?
Yeah, I think when you're taking such a legacy brand and adding a new number in the end, you should take it very seriously and actually do better. I mean, like we said, we were going in the mindset at the moment, but in hindsight, it obviously was a bad choice. I think a lot of people at Sega today wish they never did a 4 because now it kind of ruins the idea of even doing it. It's like Death of Superman. He died already. You can't do this anymore.
Right.
You milked it. And I don't know if this game was profitable enough. I think hindsight, like I said, Sonic Mania was actually Sonic 4 and they just made all new levels and they did more than 12. I think they would have made more money keeping it that long, but instead they kind of wasted it on this project. And I think it would have been better received with a different name. I think it would have been looked at back kind of like Pocket Adventure or an advanced title where it's not perfect, but it was fun when it came in and I had a great time when I played it, kind of.
Right. That's fair.
How about you?
Yeah. For me, I think fans were right to criticize it because it's a product you're offering up with the numbering that evokes Sonic 1 through 3 and Knuckles. And I remember even fans at the time were like, I'm going to play through Sonic 1 through 3 and Knuckles, and then when Sonic 4 releases, I'll play that game. And when you do that, you definitely do feel this, like, sure, there's like an HD upgrade, but there's also a downgrade in terms of like scope and epicness, like that just isn't there. It feels very small, which is odd. It actually kind of reminds me of like nowadays when streaming like revives like classic, like you'll get a revival of like a movie series, but they give it a TV series, and it's like the same actors are there and the story's continuing, but you're like, man, the budget's not there. You know what I mean? Like you're like, like, I don't know, one that kind of comes to mind is they've taken it off Disney Plus, but the Willow TV series.
Oh, I never seen that.
Like, it's just like the characters from the movie are there, but they're just like walking around in the woods, and it just doesn't feel as epic as the movie did on the TV. So, yeah, I think that people were right to criticize it. I don't dispute any of the negative things people say about it. I just personally am not as hard on the game. Following the release of Sonic 4 Episode 1, Sega took much of the criticism to heart, something I think fans do not give them enough credit for. This resulted in Episode 2, but that is a Sega talk for another time. So, talking about playing the game now. So how can you play this game right now in 2025, the year we record this? Unfortunately, the Wii version has been long gone from the Wii shop, as that closed ages ago. I never actually downloaded that. I wish I did. I need to hack my Wii so I can play some Sonic 4 Episode 1 with the MIDI music. The Apple and Google Play versions for smartphones were just recently delisted alongside Sonic CD, which is a real shame because Sonic CD is a fantastic port, and also I just don't like Sega delisting stuff in general. But they are still playable on iPhones and iPads if you purchased them in the past. And I do own an iPad that I do not update because it has, I think, every Crazy Taxi, every Sonic game up till 2014 on it. And I'm going to keep those forever on that device. Just like I showed my iPhone or my iPod Touch here. This has the original Sonic 1 and 2 releases, the ones that I said were bad. But they're on there, along with a lot of other games from the 2010s, but not Sonic 4 for some reason. The PS3 version is available to purchase from the console, but it's not available on web browsers, so you have to own the console and go on there and download it. It's also not playable on the PS4 or PS5 because there's no backwards or forward compatibility. Or backwards, whatever way it goes. The Xbox 360 version is playable via backwards compatibility on Xbox One and Series consoles, making it the only modern console to still have the games available to purchase and play. The Steam version is also still available, though I do believe Xbox just recently delisted all of the Avatar items, which I didn't really cover in this, but there were a ton of them, and they were kind of funny. What are your thoughts on digital-only games in general, and them being kind of delisted or just aged out with new versions of...
It's horrible. I think it's a terrible practice because
it does suck.
I don't think you just never get your game, you pay for it, and then you basically trust this company to always have it accessible to you, and then they're like, nah, you know what, you're good. It's dumb. I used to support companies that used to physically print games like this that were digital only, and I wish, I do know that there's a negativity right now towards limited run games, but it would be pretty cool to be able to get Episode 1 and 2, at least I guess at that point you would have to make a PS5 and Switch port of the game, which will never happen.
Yeah.
I think it'll never happen, but what do you think?
We'll touch on that in a moment.
Okay.
I as I mentioned, I did write a blog about smartphone games for a time, and then and even now, I am probably the least I have friends within fandom. I've been guest on podcasts with people who will always shit talk and belittle smartphone games. They'll be like, oh, at least it's not a smartphone game, or oh, this feels like a smartphone game. And I have to question if they've actually ever played smartphone games, because there are some very great console quality smartphone games out there, but people are just ignoring them because they're like, oh, I saw a game that exploits a roulette wheel and has gambling. Yeah, that shit exists, but there's some real gems you're missing out on just because you don't like the worst of the platform. It's it's a shame that people will just push off something, a whole platform. And also, let's be real, the days of 3DS games and Vita games are no more. We don't have a portable video game platform. The closest one that exists now is smartphones. And so it's kind of funny when people get so upset when Yu Suzuki made that Apple Arcade game, Air Twister, that has since gone to consoles, or Sega released Sonic Dream Team, and they're like, bring it to consoles. And it's Apple actually approached Sega and had the money and made that happen. It's not as though Nintendo's give us Sonic Dream Team, we'll help fund it.
But
and so
I will say, I was going to say, it is a good thing that now people that play on consoles are like, give me that mobile game, Because in the past, it was like...
Right.
Yeah, it was the other way around. So that's a positive, I would say.
It's funny that things have turned around, but like also people need to understand that like platform exclusives exist for a reason because it drives people to that platform. If every console had every game, it would kind of dilute the, I guess, specialness of it. It's kind of funny how people are like, well, it's a first-party game, so it makes sense that I can't play Mario Odyssey on my Xbox. But any third-party publisher needs to make everything available to everyone, even though Apple actually paid for the game that I want on Switch. So, I don't know. I just think it's funny that as soon as a game that people actually are interested in appears on the smartphone platform, or in the case of Sonic Dream Team, it's just the Apple platform, because you can play it on. I can play it on the machine I'm recording this on right now. In fact, I have. I can take out my controller and play it just like a PC game, but obviously it's on Apple. So kind of funny. But if you want to physically own Sonic 4 Episode 1 and 2, you need to be creative. So believe it or not, a demo disc from New Zealand and Australia's official Xbox magazine, which was released sometime after Sonic 4 Episode 2, I think in 2010, or no, I'm sorry, in 2013, for their 100th issue, it contained the full playable game of Sonic 4 Episode 1 on disc. You can actually download the data file for the disc from the Internet Archive, but of course it's region locked, and you have to figure out how to like burn a disc that's readable on Xbox. So it's kind of a headache to do. But if I've scoured eBay, I've never found it, but it is out there. Like a commercially released disc with Sonic 4 Episode 1 playable on Xbox does exist. It's just very hard to find and doesn't work on any machine unless you have a Xbox 360 from Australia. Also, Sonic 4 Episode 1 saw release stateside as a demo disc. However, that only includes the first stage playable, but internally, like on the disc, it does contain the whole game, but it's locked and cannot be unlocked with a purchase. I even tested this out with the demo version that I own, like the digital demo version. If you open that one, it'll say in there, purchasing the full game does not unlock the game on the demo, which doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Typically you buy the demo, you unlock the game, you don't get a second download of the game that exists alongside the demo, but it does here. Now, if you own the Steam version of the game, you can actually legally burn a DVD with the full game on disc, and you can save it on your shelf as a backup of the game. So as long as you own the game in your Steam library, you can download it and play it off disc. And this is actually more physical than, I would say, Switch 2's, like key carts are.
Yeah, for sure.
The key cartridges, you put them in your Switch 2, it just allows you to download the digital version from the servers. Whereas here, and I'm holding it now, this is actually I designed the cover for this so I could have Sonic 4 on my shelf, but look inside, all it is a DVD-R. But it is Sonic 4 Episodes 1 and 2 on a DVD disc that is playable on my PC. I can pop it in, and if I don't have the game downloaded, it will download it from the disc to my desktop, and then all I need to do is sign into Steam to prove that I have the license key, and it lets me play it. So there is still that check, and I've actually found that there are hacked, keyless versions of Steam games that you could download this game. I actually found it online, but that's not official. So
right.
There you go. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So it's a rare region-locked demo disc or a burn-it-yourself backup Steam version of the game. And we just talked about this. Limited Run Games should release, and I'm not joking, a Sonic 4 2-pack on disc for Xbox One and Series consoles. And there's precedent for this. They actually just released Virtua Fighter 2, which is an Xbox 360 game playable on modern consoles. You picked that one up, right?
Yeah, I have it. I will say I like the idea that they were doing that because they were digital only. I just wish they continued because they haven't done the other ones. I think there was like that same because you know how they always used to do like the vintage collection or whatever, and they gave it new names. There was more in that collection. I think it was like which one's the other ones?
Fighting Vipers.
Fighting Vipers for sure. So like I think there's a couple
Sonic the Fighters, Virtua Striker, the soccer game. So I think there were 4,
and
Monster
3 of them
Hunter
released
to the West.
I mean, not Monster
America.
Hunter. It was that Monster World 4 that was first translated for the first time.
Right. Yeah. So I'll clarify. So what they did was M2 released a small amount in Japan. They were called SEGA Ages. Something. They had like a new title, but it was essentially we had SEGA Ages. We had SEGA Ages 2500, and then we had a short-lived SEGA Ages release in Japan on Xbox that also had had American versions, but they didn't call them SEGA Ages. They called them, I don't remember. It wasn't SEGA Heritage, but they had a Toe Jam and Earl, Alex Kidd and Company, which was like a Alex Kidd and like 2 unrelated games, Monster World, Golden Axe, and I think Streets of Rage might have had one. And those were M2. And then I think it was Backbone Entertainment did individual ones. So we had Sonic 1, Sonic 2, Sonic 3, Sonic and Knuckles, other Genesis games. But then you were just mentioning the Virtua Fighter 2, which was also released in its own little thing. And then they had Sonic the Fighters, Fighting Vipers, and then they had the Virtua Striker, I think it was, the soccer game. But anyway, so there is precedent for limited run games releasing Xbox-only digital games, and they're sitting on money right now. Like you could be making money by doing a 2-disc or a single disc download of Sonic 4 Episode 1 and 2. I don't know why they don't do it. Anyway, some fans have gone so far as to demake the game, making it appear as though it's playing on the Sega Genesis. So let's take a look at 2 of them. The first one is Sonic the Hackable, which was released in 2018 and updated in 2023. Sonic the Hackable is a Sonic 4 demake and a Dimps 2D Sonic homage built on top of Sonic 1. So it features new layouts, new zones, new moves, and a remixed soundtrack. Let's check a little clip of Sonic the Hackable.
I just started at the Splash Hill Zone, which it looks pretty good. I mean, it looks like a bootleg Sonic video game.
Yeah. But it's interesting because Sonic the Hackable, of course, is a nod to Sonic the Portable.
Right.
But it is the Sonic 4 stage layout. It's all there. Sonic even uncurls, which is kind of funny. So it definitely does not try to... Well, actually, he doesn't uncurl. No. I did see the uncurl effect at one point. There it is. He like goes off ledges and stuff. But I think it's a quite a great effort. It looks really cool. Now, of course, once you get to Labyrinth Zone, for some reason, and maybe this is because it's unfinished, they use marble. Oh, it looks like they never finished that. I'm just skipping through. Spring Yard Zone is there as... what is this placeholder for? Oh, it's just Spring Yard Zone. So it's this build we're looking at is not complete, but they definitely nail Splash Hill Zone, and I do like that they do the sunset effect. So that's a valiant effort. I'll have to check out. This is, I think, the 2018 build. So this is the 2023 update. They just never finished it. The next one we're going to look at, the second one, is Sonic 4 The Genesis, which released in 2010. It's a PC game with Genesis-style sprites that is more true to Sonic 4, but I don't believe it plays on Genesis hardware. So let's check this one out.
The start menu, the start screen's already like totally different.
Oh, once you get to the yeah. So the start screen,
and it has like a cutscene.
It's like Sonic sitting there, and then when you start, he chases. But you can see like I was saying with they have opening cutscenes, so it actually shows the ending of Sonic 3 and Knuckles, which is really cool. Like this is what I was saying they should have done, is like tie it in with the ending of the last game, even though the game itself isn't all that epic.
Right.
But it is very pretty, isn't it?
Yeah, they did a really good job with the cutscenes and the feel. It feels like if this was on Genesis, it would have been epic, you know?
Right, exactly. And what timestamp are we at right now?
I'll put it on the actual level, 126 maybe at the end. There's still a little bit of cutscenes.
Yeah.
It has a funny...
So yeah, as you can see, like...
Yeah.
Right, like they show Eggman running away.
It's always funny when
after
he
the
runs.
events of Sonic 3. Look at that run. I like how he runs like Naruto. But as you can see, like, look at the aesthetics for the like ground itself and the checkerboard pattern. Like, it looks like classic Genesis, but it also looks like plastic. you know, like
right.
It's clear that they were going for that classic aesthetic in the actual release, but it just did not translate well. I honestly prefer the look of Green Hill Zone and Sonic Generations. It looks realistic, like there's blades of grass, like it doesn't look like a toy. But it looks nice here in 2D, you can see. Though I don't think this game is like a straight D-make. It looks like it does have the drop dash. It also doesn't have uncurling. It gives Sonic some of his like Sonic 2 spring animations, which I feel like every fan game, they're like, does it have the Sonic 2 spring animation? No? Well, then make it have that, because that's the ideal way. And as it goes on, clearly it's like, it's not a straight full port, but there is Lost Labyrinth.
Yeah.
I think this is just a demo. But yeah, definitely a valiant effort. I think it looks very cool. Again, with both of these, I wish they finished them. I wish there was like a full D-make of Sonic 4 Episode 1. And I will say, actually, the Sonic the Hackable, I believe it was, there was an Etsy seller selling it on a cartridge. And can you guess what artwork they stole for the box art?
It wouldn't be yours, would it?
It was mine. Yeah, I actually did a takedown notice because I was like, dude, come on. You're like making money off. Even though this is not... So I'm holding it in my hand now. So this is my paper craft. I did this back in 2010. Very proud of it. It's Sonic 4 Episode 1 in a Genesis cartridge design. It's got the front, the back, the spine there. I even
Sega was dumb for not hiring you and having you like printing these out and giving them away at events with like USB keys
for
with
sure.
demos.
I know, and this was all me using pre-existing original assets, and I think it looks great. And then I also did one for Episode 2, which follows the Sonic 2 design, so it has the checkerboard pattern in the back of it. You know, I put a lot of effort into these. I'm very proud of them. In fact, I've since learned that one of my favorite YouTubers, Sonic YouTubers out there, the Geek Critique, he actually has at least Sonic 4 Episode 1 printed out and on his shelf,
nice.
Which is very cool. Back in the day, Aaron Weber actually noticed this and really liked it, and I've heard since then that he actually like brought it up internally and like showed people at Sonic Team, which is really cool. So yeah, you can check that out. I don't think it's still there. Yeah, it's on Sega Bits, so you can look for Sonic 4 Papercraft. But yeah, man, that was a lot of Sonic 4 Episode 1 talk. I feel like we actually didn't like get all ranty.
No.
I know there's a lot of YouTube videos out there, and they spend a lot of time shitting on the game. I view the game, these are my final thoughts, I view the game as a product of its time, and yes, it did start out as a mobile game, And yes, it probably wasn't smart to give it the Sonic 4 name and develop a console version based off a mobile game, which in itself is a smaller game, a budget game. But having said that, it exists for what it is. It never took away from later games. Like, Sonic Mania happened. If that's your Sonic 4, good on you. Like, enjoy it. But it's clear that even though Sonic 4 happened, it didn't make later efforts not happen. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't take away Sonic Mania from you. In fact, if anything, Sonic Mania might not have happened without Sonic 4. You know, like, it's completely possible. How about you, George? What are your final thoughts on Sonic 4 Episode 1 specifically?
Feels like a forgotten fever dream when Sega was actually really trying to release as many Sonic games as possible, which, I mean, it was their number one selling franchise.
For sure.
Hold the brakes, maybe, but I think... You know what? I think it aged badly, obviously, in the long term. But at the time, it made sense, and I didn't hate it. I just wish it wasn't called Sonic 4. That's only it. If it wasn't, I would be like, it's not as bad as, obviously, like that Sonic 1 Advance, Game Boy Advance port, and that other stuff they were doing was just so bad that, like...
Yeah.
So it's not as bad. I think people see it because they see 4 and they expect it to be high quality. That's at a, obviously, an unrealistic level. But yeah, that's it.
100%. And let's get that physical release limited run. Come on. So if you support us on Patreon at any level, you can have your memories read at the end of the show. So we have quite a few, and I think people have been waiting for this episode. We have Ben Hayward saying, really looking forward to hearing this episode. I've got 1 and 2 on my tablet, and episode 1 in particular, it just doesn't feel quite right. I never really played very far into it, and was put off from the start by the fact that it just felt like Sonic took too long to start running fast. Episode 2 seemed to fix that, but they remain 2 games that I've never really properly been able to get into. Alex H. says, oh man, I remember seeing articles about it in Game Informer when I was like in 7th or 8th grade, and thinking it looked decent. Come 2011, I decided to buy the game on my iPod Touch and was like, it's Sonic, but something seems off, but not enough. Oh, not fast enough. Game looked like Sonic Rush, but didn't exactly play like it. Sort of felt like a little like Rivals 2, which I wasn't a fan of either. Definitely not planning to play this or its sequel anytime soon. Still a shame they had to waste Sonic 4 title on this poor man's game. Still happy we did get a true Sonic 4 in the form of Mania, though. Nicholas Schaefer says, when the first trailer dropped for this game, I was so hyped, and I remember that hype was everywhere online, especially having it as the secret finale game at SGC Iron Man of Gaming before it came out. In the end, it was an okay $2.99 mobile game that was buggy, but a fun way to pass the time on your phone. Unfortunately, Sega overhyped it, claiming it was a return to the classic formula and calling it Sonic 4, and charging $15 for it. No, the game's not great, but it also isn't the worst game ever. Had they called it Sonic Mobile and released it for an appropriate price, it wouldn't have gotten the backlash and been that Sonic game we all forget about, like all the other mobile games that come and go. In the end, it feels like a cheap licensed game more than a company mascot, but it's okay for what it is, and that's not Sonic 4. Hams says, I tried to like this game. It was the next mainline Sonic, a game I dreamed of one day being made. It was crap. Ando says, I think it goes without saying that it was the first, that I was first excited and then disappointed, but the main memory this game has given me is of a time when Sega made incredibly strange, easily avoidable mistakes, turning a mobile spin-off into an extremely long-awaited numbered entry in your flagship series is such an incredibly dumb and negligent decision that I've never understood how it could have happened. Obviously, it wasn't their first dumb decision, nor would it be their last, but it's the one that stung the most, and the one that made me think, yeah, Sega is just a bunch of monkeys banging on typewriters now. And then lastly, we have Daniel Andres saying, this effing game, man, Sonic 4 Episode 1, I haven't touched it in a better half of a decade, and I plan to keep it that way. I remember, believe it or not, that when this game first came out, I was actually hyped for it. Yeah, can you believe that? Well, for those who were actually there during the time, I don't think you can honestly blame me. At this point in time, 2D Sonic was still seen as a highly competent in the series. The only real blunder in recent history would be Sonic 1 GBA. This was a brand new game coming out alongside Sonic Colors months beforehand. There was a reason to be excited, and I was, understandably so. Plus, I was only 15 at the time. After the game launched, I was blinded by the nostalgia in the wrong kinds of ways, and didn't stop or see to realize that this game is fundamentally designed horribly. I think it has less of a joy fun factor than Sonic 06 does. Oh, come on. Yeah, I'm serious. It's at least somewhat fun to play as Sonic, Blaze, and Shadow in that game, and that's just the minimum. No, Sonic 4 Episode 1, the physics are beyond effed. The level design isn't the best. The music, and half the music is atrocious. Yes, I really liked Splash Hill. It immediately reminded me of the Sunset Hill Zone when I first saw it. To me, and to a lot of people, it is considered to be DIMP's first blunder for 2D Sonic games. Wished it was called Sonic DL instead of Sonic 4. That title absolutely belongs to Sonic Mania, a true worthy successor to Sonic 3 and K. Over time, I did start to see and realize how horrible this game actually is. Oh man, he's still going. And when I found out that it was originally going to be a mobile exclusive game, that just added insult to injury. To me, this Sonic game is the one that's considered canon. That absolutely deserves to be pandered and placed at the bottom of the shit barrel, especially since it was treated as Sonic 3's sequel successor. No question. Anyway, that's all I have to say about Sonic 4 Episode 1, a game that I shared my memories with but would rather forget about. It stinks total doo-doo.
Poo-poo.
It reads like he's like angry video game nerd. It sucking fucks, it fucking sucks, it fucking blows, it's a piece of shit and I don't like it. Good for you, Daniel. I hope you play Sonic 4 after you hear this episode, because it's probably a better game than Sonic 06. And yeah. So, next episode, George, you are going to be covering Rystar, which is a premium Patreon pick at the top tier. And then after that, I am going to be doing something from the picker wheel. And can we spin that right now?
We can spin it. I'll spin it now.
Let's do it.
Uh-oh. Wait, it's in the middle. Sonic 1 8-bit is what...
Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Another Sonic episode after the next one.
After Rystar. And if you support us on Patreon at a higher tier, you can actually precede that Sonic 1 8-bit, but only if you, I guess, bump your pledge up now. Otherwise, Sonic 1 8-bit's going to be happening. I'm excited.
Thank you guys for listening.
Bye.
Bye.